$427,000. That is exactly how much my husband cost himself by underestimating me. $427,000 gone because Darnell Chambers thought he married a fool. He thought he married some quiet, naive, obedient little wife who would never notice his lies, who would never catch on to his games, who would just smile and cook dinner while he destroyed everything we built together. What Darnell actually married was a forensic accountant, a woman who hunts down hidden money for a living, a woman who gets paid $400 an hour to find what people try to bury, a woman who has put embezzlers in federal prison and exposed fraudsters worth millions. And for 11 months, I let him believe I was clueless. 11 whole months. He would come home at midnight smelling like her perfume, and I would smile and kiss his cheek like nothing was wrong. He drained $45,000 from our savings account to buy her jewelry and take her on trips, and I pretended not to check the statements. He opened credit cards in my name, my social security number, my identity, and maxed out $38,000, and I acted like I had no idea. He got his little girlfriend pregnant. He promised her my house. He told her he was leaving me any day now. He was planning to kick me out of the home I paid for and move her right in. And I kept cooking his favorite meals, kept ironing his shirts, kept smiling in his face every single morning. For 11 months, I watched this man dig his own grave. I documented every lie. I traced every dollar. I photographed every secret. I built a case so airtight that when I finally dropped the hammer, he never even saw it coming. And when I was done with Darnell Chambers, he did not just lose his wife. He lost his house. He lost his job. He lost his money. He lost his reputation. He lost his mistress. He lost his side pieces. He even lost his mama's respect. He lost everything, every single thing he thought he had. And the most beautiful part, the part that still makes me smile when I think about it. He spent those 11 months thinking he was the smart one, thinking he was playing me, thinking he had his dumb little wife wrapped around his finger while he lived his double life. Baby, I was playing him the entire time. He just did not know it yet. Now, if you have ever been underestimated, if you have ever been cheated on, if you have ever had a man look you in your face and lie while you knew the truth, if you have ever had someone think they could outsmart you because you stayed quiet, this story is for you. I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Go ahead, I will wait. Hit subscribe. Now tap that like button because this story is about to change how you see everything. And drop a comment below telling me what city you are watching from. I want to see how far this message travels tonight. Now let me tell you exactly how a cheating husband learned the hardest way possible that the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. My name is Victoria Chambers. Everyone calls me Vicky. And this is the story of how I pretended not to know about my husband's betrayal until he lost absolutely everything he ever had. Let me take you back to the beginning, back to when I still believed in the fairy tale. From the outside looking in, Darnell and I had everything. We were that couple. You know the one. The couple everyone points to at church and says, "Look at them, that is what a blessed union looks like." The couple your single friends reference when they talk about relationship goals. The couple that makes marriage look easy. 6 years married, 8 years together total. We met at a Howard University alumni event in Atlanta when we were both 28 years old. He was charming. Lord, that man was charming. Had this smile that could light up a whole room, remembered everybody's name, made you feel like you were the only person he was talking to even in a crowd of hundreds. I was focused on my career back then, had just made senior associate at one of the biggest accounting firms in the Southeast. I was not looking for love, was not looking for a husband, was not looking for anything except my next promotion. But Darnell pursued me, showed up with flowers at my office, took me to nice restaurants, introduced me to his family like he was proud to have me on his arm, told me he loved that I was ambitious, said he wanted a partner, not a dependent, said he respected a woman who could hold her own. I believed him. Why would I not believe him? He said all the right things. We got married when I was 30. Beautiful ceremony at a historic church in downtown Atlanta. 200 guests. My mama cried the whole time. His mama Geneva looked at me like I was not quite good enough for her precious son. But I told myself that was just how mothers-in-law acted. I told myself she would warm up to me eventually. By the time I was 32, we had bought our house. 4 bedrooms in a nice suburb outside the city. Good schools nearby for the kids we planned to have. 2-car garage. Backyard with space for a garden. The American dream wrapped up with a bow. Darnell was a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, made about $95,000 a year. Good job, good benefits. He was always talking about how he was going to climb the ladder, going to make vice president someday, going to give us the life we deserved. I made more than him, about $185,000 a year by then. But I never made him feel small about it, never threw it in his face. We were partners, right? What was mine was his. What was his was mine. That is how marriage works. At least that is what I thought. See, I need to tell you what I do for a living because it matters later. It matters a lot. I am a forensic accountant, have been for 12 years now. Director level at my firm. I am the person companies call when money goes missing, when the books do not add up, when someone is stealing and hiding their tracks. My job is finding what people do not want found. I have traced embezzlement schemes that crossed 3 continents. I have uncovered Ponzi schemes that fooled thousands of investors. I have worked with the FBI, the SEC, the IRS. I have testified in federal court and watched men in expensive suits get led away in handcuffs because of the evidence I found. Companies pay my firm $400 an hour for my expertise. $400 for every 60 minutes of my time because I am that good at following money trails. And my husband, this man who lived in my house and slept in my bed and ate the food I cooked, this man thought he could hide an affair from me, multiple affairs actually, and $83,000 in financial betrayal. Darnell really looked at me every day and thought he was smarter than me, thought I would never figure it out, thought he could rob me blind while I just smiled and stayed stupid. That man had no idea who he was dealing with. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about those early years first, the years when I still trusted him. Church every Sunday. We never missed it. Darnell was a deacon in training. I sang in the choir sometimes. Pastor Williams always called us up as an example of a godly marriage, always asking us to pray with the young couples, always holding us up like some kind of standard. The Washington family pillars of this community, he would say from the pulpit. And Darnell would squeeze my hand and smile that charming smile, and I would feel proud, feel blessed, feel like I had done something right to deserve this life. His family was around constantly. Geneva, his mother, came over for dinner at least twice a week, always had something critical to say about my cooking, my housekeeping, my career. Victoria works too much. When is she going to slow down and give my son some children? Victoria spends too much time at that office. A wife should be home taking care of her husband. Victoria thinks she is better than everybody because she makes good money. She never said these things to my face, but I heard them. She would say them to Darnell, thinking I was not listening. And Darnell, my loving husband, never once defended me, never once told his mother to mind her business. He would just laugh and say, "You know how Vicky is mama." I should have seen that as a sign, but I was so busy trying to be a good wife that I ignored it. Then there was his sister Tasha. Lord have mercy on Tasha. 34 years old, 2 kids from 2 different fathers, could not keep a job for more than 6 months at a time, always calling with some emergency. Vicky, I hate to ask, but could you loan me $500? The light bill is due and they are going to cut it off and my babies cannot be in the dark. Vicky, I know I still owe you from last month, but my car broke down and I cannot get to work without it. Just $800. I will pay you back, I swear. Vicky, the kids need school supplies. Vicky, the rent is short. Vicky, the baby got sick and I cannot afford the medicine. Always Vicky, never Darnell. She never asked her own brother for money, just me, because she knew I would not say no, because she knew I wanted to keep the peace, because she knew Darnell would side with her if I refused. By my count, I gave Tasha over $30,000 during our marriage, $30,000 in loans that were never repaid, not once. Not a single dime came back to me, and every time I mentioned it to Darnell, he would get defensive. That is my sister Vicky. Family helps family. Why you always got to be so concerned about money? Me, concerned about money. when I was the one paying for everything. Let me break down our finances for you, because this is where the story really starts. The mortgage on our house. My account, $2,400 a month automatically deducted from my checking account. 4 years of payments. That is over $115,000 that came from my pocket alone. Utilities. My account. Car payments. Both cars were in my name because Darnell's credit was too damaged from mistakes in his 20s. He always promised he would fix his credit and take one of the cars over. Never happened. Groceries me, insurance me, property taxes me, repairs and maintenance me. The only thing Darnell consistently paid was his car insurance and his personal credit card. Everything else that kept our household running came from my salary. But here is what really burns me up when I think about it now. He drove a nicer car than me, a Lexus SUV, $62,000 when we bought it, in my name, on my credit, because his score was not good enough to get approved. I drove a Honda Accord. Nice car, but nothing fancy, because I was being responsible, being smart, saving for our future, for the kids we were going to have, for the life we were building together. He wore designer suits to work, took clients to expensive restaurants, played golf at a club that cost $300 a month in membership fees. I packed my lunch most days, bought my work clothes at outlet malls, put every extra dollar into our savings account. Our savings account. Ha! I will get to that later. The point is this. I gave everything to that marriage. My money, my time, my energy, my loyalty, my best years, and what was Darnell giving in return? On the surface, it looked like he was giving the same. He went to work every day. He came home every night. He said, "I love you." He showed up at family functions. He played the role of devoted husband perfectly. But underneath all that, underneath the charm and the smiles and the Sunday morning prayers, he was systematically destroying everything I built, stealing from me, lying to me, betraying me with not just one woman, but multiple women. And I had no clue. Not at first, anyway. They say love is blind. But I was not just blind. I was willfully deaf and determined to be dumb, too. I saw warning signs and talked myself out of every single one. Because I wanted to believe. I wanted the fairy tale to be real. I wanted all my sacrifices to mean something. I wanted to be wrong about that feeling in my gut that kept whispering, something is not right here. That feeling started about 2 years before everything fell apart. A quiet little voice in the back of my mind that I kept trying to silence. Something is off with Darnell. Something has changed. Something is wrong. I should have listened to that voice sooner. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain. Or maybe it was better that I waited, because waiting gave me time. And time gave me everything I needed to take him down. Let me tell you about those 2 years. The years of suspicion, the years of doubt, the years of slowly watching my perfect marriage reveal its cracks. It started small. So small that I almost missed it. So small that I convinced myself I was imagining things. 2 years ago. A random Tuesday night. Darnell came home from work about 2 hours later than usual. Said there was traffic. Said he had to stay late for a client meeting. But here is the thing. I checked his location on our family phone plan that night. Not because I was suspicious. I had no reason to be suspicious then. I checked because I was worried. There had been an accident on the highway and the news said it was bad. I wanted to make sure he was okay. His phone showed him at an address in Buckhead. Not on the highway, not stuck in traffic, not at his office. An apartment complex in Buckhead that I had never heard of and had no connection to anyone we knew. I asked him about it casually the next day. "Hey babe, where were you last night? The traffic must have been terrible." "Oh, you know how it is," he said without blinking. Took the back roads to avoid the worst of it. Ended up going all the way around through Buckhead. He lied so smoothly, so easily, like it was nothing. Like lying to his wife was just another part of his daily routine. I let it go. Told myself there was probably an explanation. Told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself that good wives trust their husbands. But that was the first crack. the first tiny fracture in the foundation of my trust. After that night, I started noticing more things, not because I was looking for them, just because once you start paying attention, you cannot stop seeing. New cologne. Darnell had worn the same cologne since we started dating. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. I bought it for him every Christmas. It was our thing. Then suddenly, there was a new bottle in the bathroom. Something expensive. Something I did not buy. When I asked about it, he said a coworker gave it to him as a birthday gift. His birthday was 4 months away. Then there was the gym membership. Darnell had always said he was too busy for the gym, too tired after work, would rather spend time at home with me. But suddenly, he was going to the gym 3 times a week, coming home later because he stopped to work out, getting more muscular, more toned, taking protein shakes in the morning. Nothing wrong with a man wanting to get in shape right. That is what I told myself. He is just trying to be healthier. You should be supportive. But that voice in my gut kept whispering, who is he trying to look good for? It is not you. When was the last time he tried to impress you? Then the phone behavior changed. For 6 years of marriage, Darnell left his phone anywhere. Kitchen counter, coffee table, bathroom sink. He never cared if I picked it up. Never cared if I saw his texts or emails. We had nothing to hide from each other. Suddenly his phone was always face down, always on silent, always in his pocket or his hand. He started taking calls in other rooms, started texting at odd hours and putting the phone away quickly when I walked in. I asked him about it once, just once. Baby, why are you always on your phone lately? What is so important? Work stuff, he said with a little edge in his voice. You know how demanding this job is. I am trying to make vice president. I have to be available all the time. Okay, I accepted that. I understood demanding jobs. My job was demanding too. Then why did you change your password? I asked. I had noticed when he unlocked his phone that the pattern was different. He looked at me. Just for a second, something flickered in his eyes. Annoyance, maybe guilt. Then the charm came back. Company policy, babe, new security requirements. Everyone had to change their passwords. I nodded. Okay, made sense. Companies do have security policies, but deep down, something felt wrong. Something felt off. I just could not put my finger on what it was. The intimacy changed too. And I do not just mean in the bedroom, though. Yes, that changed as well. He used to kiss me when he walked through the door. Used to hug me for no reason. Used to reach for my hand when we watched television together. Those little touches stopped. Slowly. So slowly, I did not notice at first. But one day I realized I could not remember the last time he kissed me that was not a quick peck on the cheek. Could not remember the last time he held my hand. Could not remember the last time he looked at me like he actually wanted me. I tried to initiate, tried to bring the spark back, wore nice lingerie to bed, suggested date nights, tried to get him to talk about what was wrong. He always had an excuse. I am tired, babe. Long day at work. Not tonight. I have an early meeting tomorrow. We should save money instead of going out. We have goals, remember, save money. Huh! That is rich coming from him. But I did not know then what he was doing with our money. I did not know he was saving all right, just not for us. The distance between us grew, mile by mile, day by day, until we were sleeping in the same bed but living in completely different worlds. I talked to my best friend Patricia about it. Pat and I go back to college. She was the one person I could be completely honest with, the one person who would not judge me or spread my business. Girl, you need to check his phone, Pat said over wine at her house one night. Something is not right. I can feel it just from what you are telling me. I cannot do that, I said. That would mean I do not trust him. Do you trust him? I paused, took a long sip of wine, did not answer. Vicky. Pat leaned forward. You are a forensic accountant. You literally investigate fraud for a living. If a client came to you with the same story you just told me, what would you tell them I would tell them to follow the evidence, to trust their instincts, that where there is smoke, there is usually fire? Exactly. So why are you not taking your own advice? Because he is my husband. Because I took vows. Because I do not want to be that woman. The suspicious, jealous wife who goes through her man's things. The paranoid woman who sees betrayal everywhere. The bitter woman who cannot believe a man could actually love her. I had spent my whole life being rational, being logical, following facts and evidence. But when it came to my own marriage, I threw all of that out the window because I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe Darnell loved me. I wanted to believe our marriage was solid. I wanted to believe I had not wasted 8 years of my life on a lie. So I kept quiet, kept smiling, kept being the good wife who trusted her husband even when every instinct screamed at her to dig deeper. Then the health scare happened. It was about 6 months after I first started noticing the changes. I was at work in the middle of a big case reviewing thousands of bank transactions looking for fraud. Normal day. Except I started feeling dizzy. At first I ignored it, took some aspirin, drank water, kept working. But the dizziness got worse. Then my chest started feeling tight. My left arm went numb. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My colleague Denise found me gripping my desk, pale as a ghost, sweating through my blouse. "Vicky," she grabbed my arm. "What is wrong? You look like you are about to pass out." "I think something is wrong with my heart," I managed to say. She took my blood pressure right there. She used to be a nurse before she went into accounting. 160/95. Then she did it again, thinking the monitor was broken. 162/98. "Vicky, we are going to the emergency room, right now. I am fine. I just need to rest. I have a deadline. You are going to have a stroke if you do not get this checked out. Deadline can wait. Let us go." At the hospital, they ran every test. EKG, blood work, stress test, the works. The doctor, a tired-looking woman about my age, sat down with me after all the results came back. "Mrs. Chambers, physically your heart is fine. No blockages, no damage, no disease." "Okay, so what is wrong with me?" "You are experiencing symptoms of severe chronic stress. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Your cortisol levels are through the roof. Your body is telling you that something in your life is slowly killing you." She handed me a prescription for blood pressure medication and a referral to a therapist. "I need you to think about what is causing this stress," she said. "Work, family, marriage. Something is putting your body in constant fight or flight mode. If you do not address the root cause, medication will only be a Band-Aid. You will be back here with something much worse." I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot for almost an hour, just thinking. What was causing my stress? Work was demanding, but I loved it. I had been doing this for 12 years, and it never made me feel like this. My family was fine. Mama was healthy. My sister and I were close. No drama there. My marriage. That is what came to mind over and over again. My marriage. My husband. The distance. The lies. The feeling that something was deeply wrong, but I could not prove it. I was literally making myself sick, trying to convince myself that everything was okay when it clearly was not. That night I went home. Darnell was not there, working late again. Of course, I took my blood pressure medication, made myself a cup of tea, sat in the dark living room of my beautiful house that suddenly felt like a prison, and I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth, one way or another. I did not know what I would find. Part of me still hoped I was wrong, hoped there was some explanation that would make everything make sense, hoped I could go back to being the happy wife who trusted her loving husband. But another part of me, the forensic accountant part, the part that had spent 12 years uncovering lies and following evidence, that part knew better. That part knew something was very wrong, and that part was about to take over. Because a few weeks later, I would find the first real piece of evidence. The text message that would confirm every suspicion I had been fighting against. The text message that would change everything. March 15th, a Tuesday night. I will remember that date for the rest of my life. Darnell was in the shower. I was in bed, reading or trying to read. My mind kept wandering. Blood pressure medication was helping my body, but it was not helping my thoughts. I was still carrying around all that suspicion like a weight on my chest. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I would not look. For 6 years, I had never invaded his privacy like that, never felt the need to. But that night, something made me glance over. The screen lit up with a message preview, just a few words visible on the lock screen. "Baby, I miss you already. Cannot wait for our trip next weekend. Love you. And then a letter. K with a heart emoji. My whole body went cold, like someone had dumped ice water in my veins. Our trip next weekend. He had told me he had a work conference in Dallas. 3 days, leaving Friday back Monday. I had even helped him pack his suitcase that morning. Love you. K. K. Who was K? What woman was sending my husband love messages and planning trips with him? I heard the shower turn off. In that moment, I had a choice. I could confront him right then and there, scream, cry, demand answers, throw things, do what any normal betrayed wife would do, or I could be smart about this. I am a forensic accountant. My job is not just finding evidence, it is finding all the evidence, building a complete picture, making sure there are no surprises later. If I confronted Darnell now, he would lie. He was clearly good at lying. He would make up some story about Kay being a coworker, about the trip being misunderstood, about me being crazy and paranoid and reading too much into an innocent text, and then he would hide everything, delete his messages, close his secret accounts, cover his tracks. I would have nothing but my suspicions and he would have months or years to prepare. No, I was not going to give him that advantage. I put his phone back exactly where it was, exactly the same angle, exactly the same position. Then I picked up my book and pretended to be reading. Darnell came out of the bathroom in his towel, saw me in bed, glanced at his phone on the nightstand, grabbed it casually, checked the message. His expression did not change at all. Years of practice, I guess. "Hey, babe," he said cheerfully. "How was your day?" "Good." I made my voice normal. Calm. "Same as always." "Yours long, lots of meetings. But we might close that big deal next week while I am in Dallas." "Dallas, the fake conference." "Right. That is great, honey." I kept my eyes on my book. "I am proud of you." He got dressed for bed, climbed in next to me, kissed my forehead. "I love you, Vicky. I love you too." The words tasted like ash in my mouth. He fell asleep within minutes. I lay there in the dark for hours, not sleeping, not crying either, just thinking about what I was going to do next. The next morning after Darnell left for work, I called in sick. First time I had called in sick in almost 2 years. My boss, Denise, sounded concerned. "You never take sick days. Are you okay? Is it your blood pressure again?" "I am fine. I just need a mental health day. Take all the time you need. The work will be here when you get back." Then I got to work. Real work. The kind of work I get paid $400 an hour to do. I started with our financial records. Everything I could access legally. Joint bank accounts, joint credit cards, our mortgage statements, tax returns. I pulled up our primary checking account first, the one both our paychecks went into, the one we used for household expenses. Nothing unusual at first glance. My direct deposits every 2 weeks, his direct deposits every 2 weeks, bill payments, groceries, normal stuff. Then I looked closer. Cash withdrawals, ATM withdrawals that I did not make. 200 here, 300 there. Small enough to not raise red flags. But when I added them up over the past year, $4,200. Cash. Gone. For what I did not do, cash. Everything I bought was on card because I liked having records, receipts, tracking. Darnell knew this about me. So where was he spending $4,200 in cash? Then I checked our savings account, the one we had been building for 5 years. Our emergency fund. Our future. My heart stopped. The balance should have been around $50,000. We had been contributing $500 each every month for years. I had done the math dozens of times. The balance was $4,700. $4,700. Not $50,000. $4,700. Where was $45,000? My hands were shaking as I pulled up the transaction history. Large withdrawals started about 2 years ago. 1,000 here. 1,500 there. Sometimes 2,000 at a time. All from Darnell. All to accounts I did not recognize. All without ever telling me. He had drained our savings, our emergency fund, our future. And I never knew because I trusted him. Because I never checked. Because good wives trusted their husbands with the family finances. But that was not even the worst part. I pulled our credit reports next, his and mine. I had access to both through a credit monitoring service I paid for. His credit score was 720. Good. Minimal debt, just his personal credit card with a manageable balance. My credit score, I almost threw up when I saw it. 631, down 89 points from last year. How I paid everything on time. Never missed a payment. Never carried a balance I could not afford. Then I saw them. 3 credit cards, 3 accounts I did not recognize, in my name, my social security number, my identity, Capital One, Discover, American Express, opened 18 months ago, 16 months ago, 14 months ago. Current balances maxed out, all of them. Minimum payments only. Late fees piling up. Total debt across all 3 cards, $38,000. $38,000 in debt in my name that I did not know existed, that I did not authorize, that I did not spend. My husband had opened credit cards in my name, had committed identity theft against his own wife, had run up almost $40,000 in charges. For what I looked at the statements, the transaction details, luxury hotel charges, expensive restaurants I had never been to, a jewelry store, a vacation package for 2 to Cancun, designer clothing stores. None of this was for me. In 6 years of marriage, Darnell had never taken me to Cancun, never bought me designer clothes, never stayed with me at a luxury hotel. This was for her, for Kay, for whoever this woman was. He was funding his affair with my credit, my identity, my future. The fraud specialist in me kicked in. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, downloads, timestamps, creating files and folders, building a case. Because that is what this was now. A case, an investigation, and Darnell was my target. Over the next few days, I kept digging. Our phone plan. I requested itemized statements going back a year. Legal request. My name was on the account. 3 numbers showed up constantly. Way more texts and calls than anyone else. First number. I searched it online, traced it to a woman named Keisha Monroe, 29 years old according to her Facebook. Pretty. Worked at a pharmaceutical company, the same company as Darnell. K for Keisha. I looked through her social media. Public profile. Not very careful with her privacy settings. Photos of her at nice restaurants, the same restaurants on my credit card statements. Photos of her with jewelry. New jewelry. Expensive jewelry. Photos of her at the beach in Cancun. The same Cancun trip on my credit card. And there, buried in her posts from about 8 months ago, a sonogram photo. Caption, God has blessed me with the greatest gift. Baby arriving September. She was pregnant. My husband's mistress was pregnant with his baby. I sat at my desk and stared at that sonogram for a long time. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of me asking when we were going to start trying for kids. 6 years of him saying, not yet, the timing is not right. We need to save more money, we need to be more stable. Let us wait just a little longer. And this woman, this Keisha, he got her pregnant. Something inside me died that day. The last piece of the naive, trusting wife I used to be. Gone. But I did not cry. I did not scream. I did not call him and curse him out. I kept digging. Second number on the phone records, Brittany Wells, flight attendant based out of Atlanta. Photos on Instagram of her traveling everywhere. Photos of gifts she never explained. Photos at nice dinners with mystery date whose face was never shown. I found a picture from 10 months ago. Her at a Braves game. You could see a man's arm around her, a watch on the wrist, a very specific watch. The same watch I bought Darnell for our 5th anniversary. Third number. This one made me pause. The phone records showed texts and calls to this number going back over 2 years. Longer than Keisha. Longer than Brittany. I traced it, and my blood ran cold. Shayla Baptiste. Baptiste. My mother's maiden name before she got married. Shayla was my cousin. My blood. We grew up together. Sleepovers at our grandmother's house every summer. I was in her wedding 4 years ago. She was supposed to be in mine, but she had some excuse about being sick that weekend. Now I knew the real reason. I went through everything I could find. Old messages between Darnell and Shayla going back almost 3 years. coordinating meetups, hotel reservations, weekend trips when he told me he was at conferences. My husband and my cousin, for 3 years. My own blood had been sleeping with my husband and looking me in my face at family reunions, hugging me at Christmas, asking me how is married life and smiling while she knew exactly how married life was because she was part of it. I thought about my wedding day, how Shayla had called the morning of saying she had food poisoning and could not make it, how I had been disappointed but understanding. She was not sick. She probably could not stand watching the man she was sleeping with marry someone else, could not play bridesmaid while her lover said vows to another woman. 3 women, at least 3 that I knew of, maybe more I had not found yet. My husband was not just a cheater, he was a professional. He had a whole system, a whole secret life, and he had been financing it with my money, my credit, my identity. The evidence was overwhelming, but I was not done yet. I needed to know how deep this went. I needed to find every dollar he had hidden, every lie he had told, every secret he thought was buried, because when I finally made my move, I wanted to destroy him completely. I wanted him to have nothing left. I needed help. Real help. The kind of help you can only get from people who love you without conditions and want nothing from you but your happiness. I called Patricia that same night, my best friend since Howard, the one person in this world besides my mother who I trusted completely. Pat, I need you to come over, now. Darnell is not here and I need to show you something. She heard it in my voice. That something was very wrong. I am on my way. 30 minutes later, she was at my door. I had never seen her drive that fast. I sat her down at the kitchen table, spread out everything I had found. Bank statements, credit card bills, phone records, screenshots, photos from Keisha's social media. Everything. Patricia did not say a word for almost 20 minutes, just looked at each piece of evidence, her expression getting darker and darker. When she finally looked up at me, her eyes were wet. Vicky. Oh my God, Vicky. I knew something was wrong, but I never imagined it was this bad. There is more. I took a deep breath. Shayla. Your cousin. Shayla, I showed her the phone records, the 3 years of texts and calls, the pattern of meetups. Patricia's hands started shaking. She put the papers down. That snake. That dirty, evil snake. Both of them. All of them. I swear to God, Vicky, I will help you burn his life to the ground. Tell me what you need. That is what I love about Patricia. She did not ask me if I was sure, did not tell me to pray about it, did not suggest counseling or giving him another chance. She believed me, she supported me, and she was ready to fight. I need a lawyer, I said, the best divorce lawyer in Atlanta, someone who is going to destroy him. I know exactly who you need. Patricia pulled out her phone. His name is Gerald Whitmore. He handled my friend Lisa's divorce last year, the one where her husband tried to hide assets overseas. Gerald found everything. By the time it was over, she got the house, the retirement accounts, and alimony for 10 years. Is he expensive? Very. But Vicky, you make good money, and after what Darnell has done, you deserve someone who is going to fight for every penny. Call him. Patricia texted me his number right there. I called and left a message. His assistant called back the next morning and scheduled me for a consultation. 3 days later, I walked into Gerald Whitmore's office on the 40th floor of a building on Peachtree Street. Floor-to-ceiling windows, mahogany desk, law degrees from Harvard and Emory on the wall. Gerald himself was about 55, silver hair, $3,000 suit, eyes that looked like they could calculate the value of everything in a room in about 2 seconds. Mrs. Chambers, he shook my hand. Please have a seat. I understand you are considering divorce. Considering is not the right word. I sat down across from his desk. I am planning a divorce. A very strategic divorce. And I need someone who can help me do it right. Tell me everything. So I did. For almost an hour, I walked him through every piece of evidence. The affairs, the financial fraud, the credit cards in my name, the hidden accounts, everything. Gerald listened without interrupting, took notes, asked clarifying questions. His expression never changed, but I could see him calculating. When I finished, he set down his pen and leaned back. Mrs. Chambers, in 25 years of practicing family law, I have seen a lot of cheating husbands. I have seen a lot of financial deception. I have seen marriages fall apart in every way imaginable. He paused, but I have never seen a wife walk in this prepared, this documented, this thorough. You have done my job for me before I even started. I smiled for the first time in days. I am a forensic accountant. This is what I do, and that is exactly why your husband made the biggest mistake of his life. He defrauded a woman who investigates fraud professionally. He tried to hide money from someone who finds hidden money for a living. Gerald stood and walked to his window looking out at the Atlanta skyline. Let me tell you what I see here. Georgia is an equitable distribution state. That means in a divorce, marital assets get divided fairly. Not necessarily 50-50, but fairly based on each spouse's contributions. He turned back to me. You have contributed substantially more to this marriage than your husband. You earn more. You paid more toward the house. You paid for both vehicles. You funded the household while he apparently funded his extramarital activities. What about the house? That was my main concern. I cannot lose my house. The house is complicated. You said the deed is in both your names. Yes. My biggest regret. When we bought it, I did not think anything would ever go wrong. I trusted him. That was your mistake. But it is not fatal. Here is why. Gerald sat back down. You can prove dissipation of marital assets, meaning you can prove he wasted marital funds on affairs and unauthorized expenses. The $45,000 from savings, the credit card fraud, all of it. When a court sees dissipation on this level, they factor it into the distribution. He already took his share and then some. What is left should go primarily to you. What about criminal charges? The credit card's in my name. That is identity theft. Gerald nodded slowly. Yes, it is. And that gives us leverage. Here is what I suggest. He leaned forward. We file for divorce first. Hit him with everything. While he is reeling from that, we file a police report for the identity theft. Now he is fighting a divorce and facing criminal charges at the same time. He will be desperate. He will want this to go away. He will be willing to give you whatever you want just to make the criminal matter disappear. Can I do that? Just make criminal charges go away. You can decline to cooperate with prosecution. Cases like this rarely go forward if the victim does not want to proceed. But he does not know that. All he knows is that he is facing felony fraud charges on top of losing his wife. Gerald smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a man who had destroyed many opponents in courtrooms. By the time we are done with Darnell Chambers, he will not have bus fare, let alone the life he thought he was building with his mistresses. I like how you think I said. There is one more thing. Gerald pulled out a legal pad. You mentioned your cousin, Shayla, the affair that has been going on for 3 years. Yes. What about her? In Georgia, you can actually sue the other woman. It is called alienation of affection. It is rare, but given that she is family, given the duration, given the betrayal, we could make a case. I thought about it. Suing Shayla, dragging her into court, making her pay. No, I said finally. I am not going to sue her. I want her destroyed, but not by me. I want her destroyed by her own shame. I want the family to know. I want everyone to know what she did. That is punishment enough for someone like her. Gerald nodded. Understood. But the option remains if you change your mind. We spent another hour developing the strategy. The timeline. The plan. Month 1 through 3. Continue investigating. Find every hidden dollar. Every secret account. Every lie. Do not let Darnell know anything is wrong. Month 4 through 6. Build the evidence file. Get everything documented, time-stamped, organized. Consult with a private investigator for photos and surveillance. Month 7 through 9. Quietly protect myself. Separate what finances I could. Change beneficiaries on insurance and retirement accounts. Build my own emergency fund. Month 10. Set the final trap. Get Darnell to commit to something that would seal his fate in court. Month 11. Strike. 11 months. Gerald stood and shook my hand. 11 months of patience. 11 months of playing the role of unsuspecting wife while building an airtight case. Can you do it? Mrs. Chambers, can you live with that man for 11 more months, knowing what you know? I looked him in the eye. I have lived with him for 6 years, not knowing the truth. Living with him knowing the truth, that is easy, because now I have the power. He smiled. I will enjoy working with you. That night I went home. Darnell was there watching television, drinking a beer, relaxed, happy. Hey, babe. He barely looked up. How was your day? Good. I sat down next to him. Yours same old. He put his arm around me. I love you, Vicky. I love you too. And I did love him. In a way. I loved the man I thought he was, the man I married, the man who never existed. But the man sitting next to me, the liar, the thief, the cheater, the man who had stolen from me and betrayed me with my own cousin, that man I was going to destroy. He just did not know it yet. The next 11 months were going to be the longest of my life, but also the most important, because at the end of them, I was going to be free, and Darnell Chambers was going to lose everything. Let me tell you what those 11 months looked like. How I played the role of loving wife while building a case that would end his world. How I smiled in his face every morning knowing what he was. How I documented every lie, traced every dollar, and prepared for the moment when I would finally drop the hammer. Because what he did to me was evil. What I was about to do to him was justice. And justice in my experience is best served cold. Very, very cold. The first 3 months of my investigation were like peeling an onion. Every layer I removed revealed something worse underneath. Something more rotten. Something that made me question everything I thought I knew about my life. I had already found 3 women. Keisha, Brittany, Shayla. But I needed to know if there were more. I needed to know the full scope of my husband's betrayal before I could plan my response. So I dug deeper. See, most people think forensic accounting is just about numbers, spreadsheets and bank statements and tax returns, but that is only part of it. The real skill is in understanding patterns, human behavior, the way people think they are being clever when they are actually leaving trails everywhere. Darnell thought he was smart, thought he had covered his tracks, but he made the same mistake every cheater makes. He got comfortable, he got sloppy. He stopped being careful because he had been getting away with it for so long. Week 1 of month 1. I requested copies of our complete phone records going back 3 years. Every call, every text, every data usage spike. The phone company sent me 147 pages of documentation. I spent an entire weekend going through those pages, highlighting patterns, creating spreadsheets, tracking numbers that appeared frequently. Besides Keisha, Brittany, and Shayla, I found 2 more numbers that showed suspicious activity. Late night calls, weekend texts, patterns that looked too familiar. One number belonged to a woman named Destiny Williams, bartender at a club in Buckhead. I found her Instagram. Photos of expensive gifts she could not afford on a bartender's salary. Photos at restaurants way out of her price range. Photos with mystery hands holding hers across candlelit tables. The other number belonged to Monica Tate, real estate agent. Her Facebook showed she had just closed on a new condo. Cash purchase according to her celebratory post. Interesting for someone whose public records showed a bankruptcy 2 years ago. 5 women, at minimum. Probably more I had not found yet. My husband was not just having an affair. He was running a whole operation, a network of women he was juggling like some kind of sick circus act. And he was funding all of it with money that should have been ours. Money that should have been building our future. Money that I had earned working 12-hour days while he was out entertaining his collection. But the financial picture got even worse when I really started digging. Month 2. I turned my forensic skills on our complete financial history. Everything I could legally access. Joint accounts, tax returns, loan applications. Everything. The savings account drain was just at the beginning. I found cash advances on our joint credit card. $16,000 over 18 months. Cash advances have the highest interest rates. He was not just spending our money. He was paying extra for the privilege of spending it secretly. I found ATM withdrawals at locations that made no sense. Casinos, nightclubs, hotels, strip clubs, places he had no business being as a married man. I found charges for a storage unit I did not know we had. Been paying for it for 2 years. What was he storing? What was so important it needed to be hidden? I drove to that storage unit one afternoon when I knew Darnell was at work. Used my access to our joint account to get the payment history and figure out the unit number. Inside, I found boxes. Boxes full of receipts and gifts and memories from his other life. Jewelry boxes. Empty. The jewelry already given to his women. Cards, birthday cards, Valentine's cards, anniversary cards. All addressed to women who were not me. Photos. Polaroids and printed pictures of him with Keisha. With Brittany. With Shayla. With women I did not even recognize. Smiling, hugging, kissing. Living a whole life I knew nothing about. A laptop, an old laptop I thought he had thrown away years ago. I took it home, cracked the password. His mother's birthday. Of course. That laptop was a goldmine. Emails going back years. Love letters to multiple women. Plans for trips and meetups. Conversations about me, about how I was boring. How I was too focused on work. How I did not appreciate him. How he deserved better. He told Keisha I was frigid and cold. Told Brittany I was controlling and jealous. Told Shayla I was neglectful and distant. He had created a whole fictional version of me to justify his cheating. Made me the villain so he could be the victim. Poor Darnell trapped in a loveless marriage with a terrible wife. Never mind that I paid for everything. Never mind that I supported his dreams. Never mind that I loved him completely. In his story, I was the problem. Not him. The laptop also showed me something else. Something that made my blood boil even hotter. His secret bank account. I had suspected he might have hidden money somewhere. The math did not add up otherwise. He made $95,000 a year. After taxes, that was maybe $5,500 a month take-home. His personal expenses were not that high. So where was the rest going? Now I knew. For 3 years, Darnell had been diverting a portion of his paycheck before it hit direct deposit. He had set up a split deposit with his employer. 60% to our joint account, 40% to a personal account at a completely different bank. 40%. For 3 years. I did the math. That was almost $70,000 he had hidden from me. $70,000 sitting in an account with only his name on it. Building interest. Growing. While I struggled to pay bills and wondered why we never seemed to get ahead, our emergency fund was empty because he had been creating his own emergency fund, his escape fund, his start a new life with his pregnant mistress fund. Month 3. I discovered the final piece of the puzzle, the piece that hurt almost as much as the affairs themselves. His mother knew. Geneva Chambers, the woman who came to my house twice a week for dinner, the woman whose medical appointments I drove her to, the woman whose groceries I paid for when she was short on money. She knew about Keisha, maybe about all of them. I found out because of a text thread on that old laptop. Darnell had been texting his mother from it before he got his new phone. The messages were from about a year ago. Darnell, Mama, I need you to cover for me this weekend. Tell Vicky I was at your place Saturday night. Geneva, what are you doing that you need a cover story, Darnell? Just meeting up with Keisha. Her son is with his father, so we have the whole weekend. Geneva boy, you need to be careful. You are going to get caught. Darnell Vicky is clueless. She suspects nothing. Too busy with her job to pay attention to what is happening in her own house. Geneva, I still think you should just leave her. That Keisha girl seems sweet. She would give you children. Vicky is too career-focused to be a real wife. Darnell, not yet, Mama. Vicky makes good money. I need to set things up first. Make sure I get my share of the house and accounts before I leave. Geneva Smart, get what you can. You deserve it for putting up with her all these years. I read that thread over and over, each time feeling the knife twist deeper. His mother. His mother thought he deserved my money. His mother thought I was the problem. His mother was actively helping him plan how to rob me before leaving me. All those dinners I cooked for her, all those doctor appointments I took time off work to drive her to, all those times I bit my tongue when she criticized me. She was plotting against me the whole time. I thought about confronting her, showing up at her house with the texts and watching her face when she realized I knew everything. But no, that was not the plan. Confrontation could wait. Evidence gathering came first, so I kept smiling, kept cooking dinners for Geneva when she came over, kept driving her to appointments, kept being the good daughter-in-law who had no idea her mother-in-law was helping plan her destruction. And I added Geneva to my list of people who would pay when the time came. By the end of month 3, I had a complete picture. My husband had been cheating on me with at least 5 women over a period of at least 3 years. He had drained $45,000 from our savings. He had opened $38,000 in credit cards in my name. He had hidden $67,000 in a secret account. He had gotten his main mistress pregnant. He was planning to leave me and take half of everything I had built. His mother was helping him. My cousin was one of his women. Total financial betrayal over $150,000. Total emotional betrayal. Immeasurable. But here is the thing. As devastated as I was, as angry as I was, as hurt as I did not fall apart, did not break down, did not lose myself in grief and rage, because I had a plan. I had evidence. I had the skills to trace every lie and the patience to wait for the perfect moment. Darnell thought he was the one in control, thought he was playing me. He had no idea he was walking into a trap that I was building more carefully and more thoroughly with each passing day. 3 months down, 8 to go. And every single day, I smiled at my husband, kissed him goodbye in the morning, welcomed him home at night, and pretended to be the clueless wife he thought I was. It was exhausting. It was maddening. It was the hardest role I have ever played, but it was necessary, because the bigger the betrayal, the more complete the revenge needed to be, and my revenge was going to be complete. Absolutely complete. Month 4, time to formalize everything. I had gathered information. Now I needed to turn that information into evidence. Real evidence. The kind that holds up in court. The kind that cannot be dismissed or explained away. The kind that destroys. Gerald Whitmore had given me a list. Things I needed. Documents, photos, testimony, proof that could not be denied. First priority, a private investigator. I could not follow Darnell myself. Too risky, too obvious. One wrong move and he would know I was on to him. Gerald recommended someone, a woman named Lorraine Mitchell, former FBI, now ran her own firm specializing in infidelity cases. Expensive, $5,000 as a retainer, but worth every penny. I met Lorraine at a coffee shop in Midtown. She was about 50, short gray hair, no-nonsense demeanor, eyes that looked like they had seen everything and were not impressed. I laid out the situation, the affairs, the money, the timeline. She did not react. Just took notes in a small leather notebook. "What do you need from me?" she asked when I finished. "Photos, video if possible, documentation of him with the women, proof of the relationship that goes beyond text messages." Lorraine nodded. "I can have a team on him within 48 hours. We will follow him for 2 weeks. Every movement, every meeting, everything." 2 weeks later, Lorraine delivered. The folder she handed me was almost 2 inches thick. Photos of Darnell and Keisha, walking into her apartment building, coming out the next morning in the same clothes, him kissing her on the street, his hand on her pregnant belly, date and time stamped, photos of Darnell and Brittany at the airport, getting into her car in long-term parking, him carrying her luggage, them kissing in the terminal, boarding a flight together to Miami, photos of Darnell and Shayla, at a hotel in Buckhead, his car in the parking lot overnight, them at breakfast the next morning, photos of Darnell at the secret apartment, the one he was paying for in Midtown. Keisha had a key. She was basically living there, their love nest, funded by the money he stole from our savings. Video footage, too. Lorraine had gotten audio in some cases, his voice telling Keisha he loved her, telling Brittany she was special, telling Shayla she was the only one who really understood him. The same lies, the same words, to 3 different women. This man had a script, a playbook. He had been running the same game on all of us. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, devastating. Perfect. Month 5, time to organize. I spent weeks creating the case file, the same way I would for any fraud investigation at work. Organized, labeled, cross-referenced. Section 1, Financial Fraud. Bank statements showing the drained savings, credit card applications with forged signatures, account records from the hidden bank account, every dollar traced, every transaction documented. Section 2, Infidelity Evidence. Photos organized by woman, text message logs, email printouts from the old laptop, phone records with call duration and frequency, the private investigator's full report. Section 3, Identity Theft. The 3 credit cards opened in my name, my credit report showing the damage, the applications with his handwriting, the charges that matched his known patterns. Section 4, Witness Statements. My statement notarized, Patricia's statement about what I had told her and when, Denise's statement about my health crisis and the stress I had been under. Section 5, Timeline. A complete chronological reconstruction of his betrayal, when each affair started, when each financial crime occurred, how it all fit together. By the end of month 5, I had a case file that any prosecutor would envy. Every piece of evidence labeled and explained, every accusation backed up with proof. Gerald reviewed it over a 2-hour meeting. "Mrs. Chambers," he said when he finished, "I have been practicing law for 25 years. I have never seen a more thorough case file from anyone who is not a professional investigator." I smiled. "I am a professional investigator, just not the kind people expect." He shook his head. "Your husband is going to regret the day he decided to defraud a forensic accountant. That is the plan. Month 6. Time to protect myself." Up until now, everything had been about gathering evidence, building the case, preparing for the attack. But I also needed to play defense, protect what was mine before Darnell could do any more damage. First, I separated what finances I could. I opened a new bank account, my name only, at a completely different bank than any of our joint accounts. Started routing my direct deposit there instead of the joint account. I did it slowly, gradually, so Darnell would not notice. First month, I changed my deposit to put just $500 in my new account. Rest in the joint like normal. No red flags. Second month, $1,000. Third month, $2,000. By month 6, I was putting 80% of my paycheck in my own account. Only 20% going to the joint. Darnell never noticed. Know why? Because he never paid attention to the joint account anyway. Never looked at the statements. Never checked the balance. That was woman's work in his mind. He just swiped the card and expected money to be there. His arrogance was my advantage. Next, I changed all my beneficiaries, life insurance, retirement accounts, everything that had Darnell listed as the beneficiary in case something happened to me. Changed them all to my mother. Louise Chambers was now the sole beneficiary of everything I had. If something happened to me tomorrow, Darnell would get nothing. Not a dime. Then I started removing myself from his debts. The car loans were in my name. Both of them. His Lexus and my Honda. I called the bank, explained I wanted to refinance and remove one vehicle from the loan package. They agreed. Paperwork took about 3 weeks. When it was done, the Honda was in my name alone. The Lexus was in his name alone. His credit was bad, so the interest rate on his loan was terrible. His problem now. Gerald helped me with the next part. Georgia law says you cannot just take your name off a mortgage, but you can file certain documents that protect your interest in the property while a divorce is pending. We filed a lis pendens, a legal notice that says there is pending litigation involving the property. This meant Darnell could not sell the house or refinance it without my knowledge and consent. He did not know the document existed, would not know until I was ready for him to know. I also started documenting my daily life more carefully. Every interaction with Darnell, written down that night in a journal, what he said, what I said, what lies he told. Every time he came home late with another excuse, documented. Every time he left for a fake business trip, documented. Every time Geneva made a snide comment about me, documented. The journal was not evidence exactly, but it showed a pattern, showed the ongoing deception, showed that I was living with a stranger who lied to me every single day. 6 months in, halfway through my plan. Darnell had no idea. None. He still came home every night acting like the loving husband, Still kissed me goodbye every morning. Still talked about our future like we had one together. Meanwhile, I had gathered enough evidence to destroy him 10 times over, had protected my finances, had built relationships with a lawyer and investigator who were ready to strike when I gave the word. The hardest part was the acting, pretending everything was normal, pretending I did not know. Some nights after he fell asleep, I would lie awake staring at the ceiling, fighting the urge to scream, to shake him awake and demand answers, to tell him I knew everything and watch his face crumble. But I held back. Every single time. Because revenge is a dish best served cold, and I wanted mine frozen solid. My sister circle kept me sane during those months. Patricia came over every week. We would sit in my kitchen after Darnell left for one of his nights out, and she would let me vent, let me rage, let me cry when I needed to cry. "Girl, how do you do it?" she asked one night. "How do you look at him every day knowing what you know I thought about it?" "Because I know how this ends," I said. "I know exactly how this story ends. He thinks he is writing it, but I am. And in my version, he loses everything." Patricia raised her wine glass. "To justice." To justice, I agreed. Denise at work was another lifeline. She knew something was wrong at home, could tell from the way I was carrying myself, the stress I was trying to hide. I did not tell her everything, but I told her enough. "If you ever need anything," she said one day after a meeting, "anything at all, I am here." I nodded. "I might need a character witness eventually." "You will have one." Even my mother knew something was happening. Mama always could read me better than anyone. I visited her one Sunday when Darnell thought I was at the grocery store. "Victoria," she said, holding my face in her hands. "What is going on? And do not lie to me. A mother knows." So I told her. Everything. She listened in silence, her expression getting harder and harder. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That man," she finally said. "That man came into my house, ate at my table, called me Mama Louise, and the whole time he was stealing from my daughter, betraying my daughter, with her own cousin. Mama, I need you to stay calm. I have a plan." "Stay calm." Her voice rose. "You want me to stay calm? I want to go over there right now and beat him with my cast iron skillet." I almost laughed. "I know you do. But that would mess up everything I have been building. I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She took a deep breath. Let it out slowly. "How long?" 5 more months. Maybe 6. And then Darnell Chambers will wish he had never heard my name. Mama looked at me, really looked at me, saw something in my eyes she had never seen before. "You know what?" She nodded slowly. "I almost feel sorry for him." Almost. She hugged me tight. "Go get him, baby. Go get him good." That is exactly what I intended to do. Month 7 through 9. The final stretch. Keisha was getting bigger. Her due date was approaching, and Darnell was getting more and more careless. It was fascinating to watch, actually. From a clinical perspective, the way a man unravels when he thinks he is about to get everything he wants. He started coming home later and later, his excuses getting flimsier and flimsier. Work dinner ran long. Traffic was terrible. My phone died so I could not call. Had to help my mama with something, each lie more transparent than the last. He was not even trying anymore. One night he came home at 2 in the morning, 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, smelling like Keisha's perfume, lipstick on his collar that he had not bothered to check for. "Where were you?" I asked. Not accusing, just curious. "Playing the role." "Conference call with the West Coast office," he said without missing a beat. "You know how it is with the time difference." "Conference call, at 2 in the morning. That left lipstick on your collar." "Okay, honey, I just worry about you. You work so hard." He kissed my forehead. "I know, babe. Just a few more months of this and things will calm down. I promise." A few more months. He was right about that. Just not in the way he thought. My private investigator Lorraine was still watching him. Weekly updates, weekly photos, weekly confirmation that my husband was spending every free moment with his pregnant mistress. They were nesting. That is what Lorraine called it. Playing house. getting ready for the baby. Keisha's apartment was full of baby things now. Crib, changing table, stroller, all purchased with money that Darnell had stolen from me. I saw the receipts, matched them to our credit card statements. He was putting baby supplies on my fraudulent credit cards, building his new family on debt that was in my name. The audacity, the absolute audacity of this man. But I was not angry anymore. Not really. I had moved past anger into something colder, more calculated. Anger makes you stupid, makes you act on impulse, makes you make mistakes. I could not afford mistakes, not when I was this close. Month 8 brought an unexpected complication. I was at the grocery store on a Saturday afternoon. Darnell thought I was at a work conference. Actually, I was just avoiding being in the house with him on a day when he was not working. I was in the produce section when I heard a voice. "Excuse me, are you Victoria Chambers?" I turned, and there she was. Keisha Monroe, in person, for the first time. She was beautiful. I will give her that. Younger than me, prettier than me, very pregnant. Due any day by the look of her. My first instinct was to walk away, not engage, stick to the plan. But something in her face stopped me. She looked nervous, uncertain, not like a woman confronting her lover's wife, more like a woman looking for answers. "Yes," I said carefully. "I am Victoria." "Do I know you know?" She swallowed hard. "But I know who you are. You are Darnell's wife, and you must be Keisha." Her eyes went wide. "You know who I am. I know a lot of things." We stood there in the produce section, two women connected by the same man, the same lies, the same betrayal. "Can we talk?" Keisha asked. "Please. There are things I need to know. I should have said no, should have walked away. Every strategic instinct told me not to engage with her until I was ready. But I am human, and there was something in her eyes, something desperate and sad and confused. "Fine," I said. "There is a coffee shop next door. Give me 5 minutes." We sat across from each other at a small table, her with herbal tea, me with black coffee. Two women who should have been enemies but somehow were not. "How long have you known?" Keisha asked. "Almost a year." "A year?" Her face crumpled. "You have known for a year and you have not said anything. I have my reasons." She shook her head. "I do not understand. If I found out my man was cheating, I would lose my mind. I would confront him immediately." I took a sip of my coffee. "That is exactly what he would expect, what he is prepared for. I am not interested in giving Darnell what he expects." Keisha stared at me. She did not understand. How could she? She did not know what I knew, did not have the skills I had, did not see the bigger picture. "He told me you were separated," she said quietly. "Told me you were getting divorced, that you had not been together for years, that you were only staying in the same house until you could sell it. And you believed him. It was not a question. It was a statement." She nodded, tears starting to form. He was so convincing, so charming. He said all the right things, made me feel special, made me feel like I was the only one. "You were not the only one." She looked up sharply. "What do you mean, Keisha?" "There are others, other women. You are not even the first. You are just the one who got pregnant." Her hands went to her belly, protective, instinctive. "That is not true. He loves me. He is leaving you for me. We are going to be a family." I felt something I did not expect. Pity. This woman was not my enemy. She was another victim, manipulated by the same man who had manipulated me, fed the same lies, given the same false promises. He told Brittany the same thing I said gently, and Shayla, and probably others I do not even know about. Who are Brittany and Shayla? Brittany is a flight attendant he has been seeing for 2 years. Shayla is my cousin. He has been sleeping with her for 3 years. Keisha's face went gray. "Your cousin? He has been sleeping with your cousin for 3 years, while he was telling you that you were special, while he was telling her the same thing, while he was coming home to me and saying he loved me." The tears were flowing now, down her cheeks, onto the table. She was shaking. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Part of me wanted to walk away. Part of me wanted to scream at her for sleeping with my husband in the first place. But I did none of those things. I just sat there. Let her process. Let the truth sink in. "What am I supposed to do?" she finally whispered. "I am 8 months pregnant with his baby. I gave up everything for him. Quit my job because he said he would take care of me. Moved into that apartment because he said we would live there together. I know. You know I know about the apartment. I know he is paying for it with money he stole from me. I know about the baby supplies he bought with credit cards he opened in my name." Her eyes went wide. "I know everything, Keisha. I have spent almost a year documenting everything, every lie, every dollar, every betrayal. Why are you telling me this?" I leaned forward. "Because you deserve to know who the father of your child really is. Because you need to make decisions based on truth, not fantasy. Because when everything falls apart, and it will fall apart very soon, I want you to be prepared." She sat there for a long moment, processing, thinking, "What are you going to do? I am going to divorce him, and I am going to take everything. He will have nothing left when I am done. And me. What about me and the baby? That is up to you. You can stay with him and share in his nothing. Or you can start preparing now. Get your own money. Get your own support system. Make sure you are not dependent on a man who has proven he cannot be trusted." She nodded slowly, something shifting in her eyes. The naive girl who walked in was starting to see reality. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I do not know why you are being kind to me. I slept with your husband. I am carrying his child. You should hate me." I thought about that. I did hate you. For a while, when I first found out, I hated you and blamed you and wanted to destroy you along with him. What changed? I realized you were just another victim. He lied to both of us, used both of us. The difference is I have the resources to fight back. You do not. I stood up. "When things go down, and they will go down, soon remember this conversation. Remember that I gave you warning. What you do with that warning is up to you." I left her there, sitting alone in that coffee shop, 8 months pregnant with my husband's baby, her whole world crumbling around her. I did not feel good about it, but I did not feel bad either. I felt like I had done something right, given truth to someone who had been living in lies. Whatever she did with that truth was her choice, but I had given her a chance, more of a chance than Darnell ever gave any of us. Month 9, time to set the final trap. Gerald and I had discussed this, the last piece we needed, something that would seal Darnell's fate in court. An admission, a signed admission of his fraud. Getting a man to admit he committed identity theft against his wife is not easy. You cannot just ask him. He would deny it, lie about it, make up some story. But what if he did not know what he was signing? I came up with a plan, risky, maybe unethical, but effective. I told Darnell I wanted to refinance the house, lower our interest rate, take advantage of better market conditions. His eyes lit up. Of course they did. He thought this was his opportunity. Get the refinancing done. Get his name more firmly on the property. Set himself up for the divorce he was planning. "Baby, that is a great idea," he said. "We should definitely do that." "I will get the paperwork together," I said. "You know I am better with that stuff." He agreed. Of course he did. He never wanted to deal with paperwork. What I actually prepared was not refinancing documents. Gerald helped me draft something very specific, a document that looked like standard mortgage paperwork, pages of dense legal language, the kind of thing nobody reads carefully. But buried in that document was a very specific clause, a clause where Darnell acknowledged that he had opened credit accounts in my name without my consent, that he was solely responsible for the charges on those accounts, that he had accessed my personal information, including my social security number, for purposes I had not authorized, basically a confession, disguised as mortgage paperwork. I printed it out on official-looking paper, added some fake bank letterhead, made it look as legitimate as possible. One night after dinner, I brought out the stack of papers. "Honey, can you sign these, the refinancing documents? I need to get them to the bank tomorrow." He did not even hesitate, did not read a single page, just grabbed a pen and signed where I pointed. "Here." and here, and initial here. He signed every page, including the confession. When he was done, I gathered up the papers with a smile. Thank you, baby. This is going to save us so much money. Of course, babe, whatever you need. I took those papers to a notary the next day, had them officially stamped and witnessed. Then I added them to my evidence file. Darnell had just signed a confession admitting to identity theft and financial fraud. He did not know it. Would not know it until he was sitting across from a judge. Month 9 complete. The trap was set. All that was left was to spring it. 2 more months. 2 more months of smiling and pretending and playing the fool. Then Darnell Chambers would learn what happens when you underestimate the wrong woman. Month 10. The final preparations. Keisha had her baby. A boy, born the 3rd week of September. I know because Darnell took 3 days off work to be with her. Told me it was a sales conference in Tampa. He came back glowing. Happy, like a new father, which he was. Just not in a way he could tell me about. How was the conference, I asked when he walked through the door. Great, he said. Really productive. I think I am going to get that promotion. I smiled. That is wonderful, honey. I am so proud of you. Inside, I was counting down the days. Gerald and I finalized everything. The divorce petition was ready. 47 pages. Every ground covered. Every accusation backed with evidence. Adultery. Documented with photos, texts, and investigator reports. Dissipation of marital assets. Documented with bank statements and transaction records. Identity theft. Documented with credit card applications and the signed confession Darnell did not know he had made. Fraud. Documented with the hidden bank account records. Gerald added requests for everything I was entitled to. Exclusive possession of the marital home pending divorce. Restraining order preventing Darnell from accessing joint accounts. Full repayment of all stolen and dissipated funds. Attorney's fees paid by Darnell due to his fraudulent conduct. The petition was a weapon. A 47-page weapon designed to destroy him financially and legally. But we were not done. Gerald prepared the criminal complaint as well. Identity theft, fraud, grand larceny, felony charges that could put Darnell in prison. We were not going to file the criminal complaint right away. That was leverage. A threat to hold over his head if he tried to fight the divorce. Sign what we want you to sign or spend the next few years in prison. His choice. I also prepared something for Keisha. A package. Everything I knew. Photos of Darnell with Brittany. Photos of him with Shayla. Evidence that she was not special. Was never special. Was just one of many. I was going to send it to her the day after Darnell got served. Let her see the truth in black and white. Let her make informed decisions about her future and her child's future. Month 11. The countdown began. I chose October 1st as the day, a Wednesday, middle of the week. Nothing special about it. Darnell would be at work, busy with his team, surrounded by colleagues who thought he was such a great guy. Perfect. The week before, I made sure everything was in order. My new bank account was fully funded, enough to live on for 6 months without touching any joint assets. My important documents were at my mother's house. Birth certificate, passport, everything I would need. I had packed a bag with essentials, kept it in my car. Just in case things got ugly and I needed to leave quickly, Patricia was on standby, ready to come over at a moment's notice. Lorraine, the investigator, was watching Darnell, making sure he did not do anything unexpected. Gerald had the process server scheduled. 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, right in the middle of Darnell's team meeting. Everything was ready, the night before, September 30th, my last night as Darnell's unsuspecting wife. We had dinner together. I made his favorite, jerk chicken with rice and peas, fried plantains on the side. One last meal, one last performance. He ate happily, complimented my cooking, talked about his plans for the weekend, something about watching football with his boys. His boys. Right. I knew exactly which boys he meant. Keisha and the baby in their secret apartment. After dinner, we watched television together. Some show I did not pay attention to. I was too busy thinking about tomorrow, running through the plan in my head. Around 10, Darnell yawned and stretched. I am going to head up. Long day tomorrow? I nodded. I will be up in a bit. Just want to finish this episode. He kissed my forehead, the same way he had kissed it 1,000 times. The same casual affection he had given me while betraying me in every possible way. "I love you, Vicky. I love you too." The words came out automatically, reflexively. I had said them so many times they meant nothing anymore. He went upstairs. I heard him moving around, getting ready for bed, the familiar sounds of a husband settling in for the night. I sat on the couch for another hour, just thinking. 11 months. 11 months of pretending, of smiling, of lying, of playing the most difficult role of my life. Tomorrow it would all be over. Tomorrow Darnell Chambers would learn that his wife was not stupid, was not clueless, was not the naive fool he thought he had married. Tomorrow he would understand what it feels like to lose everything. I went upstairs around midnight. Darnell was already asleep, snoring lightly, peaceful. I looked at him for a long time. This man I had loved, had trusted, had built a life with. This man who had stolen from me, lied to me, betrayed me in ways I was still discovering. This man who thought he was so smart, thought he had gotten away with everything. "Sleep well, Darnell," I whispered. "It is the last good sleep you are going to get for a very long time." I climbed into bed beside him, closed my eyes, and slept better than I had in months. October 1st. D-Day. I woke up at 5:30. Darnell was still asleep. I got dressed carefully, deliberately, the charcoal gray suit I saved for court appearances. Professional, powerful. The outfit of a woman who means business. I did my makeup. Not too much, just enough to look polished, in control. I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back was not the same woman who had found that text message 11 months ago. That woman had been hurt, confused, broken. This woman was ready, prepared, dangerous. Darnell stumbled into the kitchen around 7, still half asleep, reached for the coffee I had made. "You look nice," he said. "Big meeting today?" Something like that. He nodded absently, already checking his phone, already thinking about his day. "I have a late meeting tonight," he said. "Probably will not be home until 8 or 9. "Okay." He finished his coffee, grabbed his keys, walked to the door, then he stopped, turned around, looked at me. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Suspicion, intuition, some primal instinct telling him something was wrong. "You okay, Vicky? You seem different this morning." I smiled, the same smile I had been smiling for 11 months. "I am fine, honey, just focused on work." He nodded slowly. "Okay, well, have a good day. Love you. Love you too." He walked out the door, got in his car, drove away. I stood at the window and watched him go. Goodbye, Darnell. As soon as his car disappeared around the corner, I made my calls. "Patricia, it is happening. Meet me at Gerald's office at 9. Then I called Gerald. We are a go. 10 o'clock, his office. Then I called my mother. "Mama, I just wanted to hear your voice. Today is the day." "I know, baby. I have been praying all morning. Go get him." I gathered my things, my purse, my files, my evidence. I walked out of that house, the house I had paid for, the house where I had been betrayed for years, and I drove to Gerald Whitmore's office to watch my husband's world fall apart. The process server was a young guy, maybe 25, professional, polite. No idea what he was about to deliver. At 10 o'clock exactly, he walked into Darnell's office building, up the elevator to the 3rd floor, through the doors of the pharmaceutical company's regional sales office. Lorraine had a contact inside, someone who owed her a favor. They were going to record what happened. I wanted to see. Darnell was in the conference room, mid-meeting, presenting something to his team, in his element, confident, charming. The process server walked in, interrupted the meeting. "Darnell Chambers." "That is me. Can I help you?" The young man handed over the envelope. "You have been served. Have a good day." Then he left. Darnell stood there, holding the envelope, his colleagues looking at him curiously. He opened it, started reading. Even on the grainy video Lorraine's contact sent me, I could see his face change, the color draining, the confidence evaporating. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Victoria Chambers versus Darnell Chambers. I imagine him scanning the pages, seeing the accusations: adultery, fraud, identity theft, seeing the evidence listed, the photographs, the bank statements, the confession he signed without reading. I imagine the moment it hit him, the moment he realized his wife had known everything for 11 months, and he never suspected a thing. On the video, Darnell excused himself from the meeting, stumbled out of the conference room, headed for the bathroom. 10 minutes later, my phone started ringing. His number. I let it go to voicemail. Then again, and again, and again. 17 missed calls in the first hour, voicemails ranging from confused to angry to desperate. Vicky, what the hell is this? Call me back. This is some kind of mistake, right? Some kind of joke, Vicky, we need to talk. I can explain everything. Baby, please call me back. I love you. We can work this out. I did not call back, did not respond, did not engage. Instead, I sent him one text message. Short, simple, final. See you in court. Then I blocked his number. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, Gerald filed the emergency motions. Motion for exclusive possession of the marital home, based on evidence of financial abuse and fraud. Motion to freeze all joint accounts, based on documented theft and dissipation of marital assets. Motion for a restraining order, based on the pattern of deception and the likelihood of continued financial harm. The judge reviewed our evidence, all 47 pages of it, the photos, the bank statements, the signed confession. At 4 o'clock, I got the call from Gerald. All motions granted. Darnell has 48 hours to vacate the marital residence. All joint accounts are frozen. He cannot access a penny without court approval. Congratulations, Mrs. Chambers. You won the first battle. I hung up the phone, sat in my car in the parking lot of Gerald's office, and for the first time in 11 months, I cried. Not sad tears, not angry tears. Relief tears, victory tears. 11 months of pretending were over. 11 months of smiling at my enemy were over. 11 months of carrying this burden alone were over. The war was just beginning. I knew that. There would be court dates and negotiations and battles ahead, but Darnell did not know what I knew, did not have what I had, did not have the skills or the evidence or the preparation. He was walking into a fight he had already lost. He just did not know it yet. The fallout was immediate, and it was glorious. Darnell showed up at the house that night around 7. I was already there. Changed the locks that afternoon. Had a locksmith come and replace every single one. I watched from the window as he pulled into the driveway, sat in his car for a long time, just staring at the house, probably trying to figure out how his perfect plan had fallen apart so completely. Finally, he got out, walked to the front door, put his key in the lock. It did not work. He tried again and again, jiggling the key, pushing the door, getting more and more frustrated. Then he started banging. Vicky, open this door. Vicky, I know you are in there. I did not move, did not respond, just watched. This is my house. You cannot lock me out of my own house. I walked to the window, opened it just enough for my voice to carry. Actually, Darnell, I can. I have a court order. You have 48 hours to arrange pickup of your personal belongings. With a police escort. His face twisted, rage and desperation fighting for control. Court order. What court order? We have not even been to court yet. Emergency motion. Granted this afternoon, based on the evidence of your financial abuse and fraud. The judge agreed that you should not have access to the marital home or the marital accounts until this is resolved. Financial abuse, fraud. What are you talking about? I smiled. It was not a nice smile. I am talking about the $45,000 you stole from our savings. I am talking about the $38,000 in credit cards you opened in my name. I am talking about the $67,000 you hid in your secret account. I am talking about Keisha and Brittany and Shayla and however many other women you have been spending my money on. His face went white. Pure white. How do you know about that? I am a forensic accountant, Darnell. Finding hidden money is literally what I do for a living. Did you really think you could steal from me and I would not notice? He staggered back, like I had punched him in the chest. Vicky, baby, we can talk about this. I can explain everything. There is nothing to explain. I have documents. I have photographs. I have bank statements. I have your confession. My confession, I never confessed to anything. I held up the papers he had signed, the ones he thought were refinancing documents. You signed right here, acknowledging that you opened credit accounts in my name without my consent, that you were solely responsible for the charges, that you accessed my personal information for purposes I did not authorize. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. That is not what those papers said. You told me it was mortgage paperwork. I told you to read before you sign. You chose not to. That is not my problem. You tricked me. I laughed. The audacity of this man. I tricked you. You have been tricking me for 3 years. You have been lying to me every single day. You got another woman pregnant. You opened credit cards in my name. You stole from our savings. And you think you are the victim because I outsmarted you. He stood there, on the porch of the house I paid for, the house he was trying to steal, the house he was planning to move his mistress into, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. What do you want, Vicky? What is this going to take? I leaned against the window frame, casual, in control. I want a divorce. I want this house. I want repayment of every dollar you stole. I want you to sign over the hidden account. I want you to take responsibility for the fraudulent credit cards. And I want you to stay 500 feet away from me at all times. That is everything you are taking. Everything I am taking what is mine. Everything in this house I paid for. Every dollar in those accounts I earned. The only thing I am taking from you is the opportunity to steal more. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair, looking around like he was searching for an escape route. And if I do not agree, if I fight this, then I file the criminal complaint. He froze. Criminal complaint. Identity theft. Darnell. Fraud. Grand larceny. Those credit cards you opened in my name, that is a felony. Multiple felonies, actually. You could spend the next 5 to 10 years in prison. You would not do that. You would not send me to prison. I would not want to. But I will if you force me. Your choice. Give me what I want and walk away with your freedom. Fight me and lose everything, including the next decade of your life. He stared at me for a long moment, processing, calculating, trying to find an angle. But there was no angle. No escape. No way out. I had him. Completely. Totally. He just had not accepted it yet. I need time to think, he said finally, his voice small, defeated. You have 48 hours to get your stuff. After that, anything left goes to Goodwill. I closed the window, drew the curtains, left him standing on the porch in the dark. That night, I slept in my bed, my house, my home, and Darnell. He slept in his car in the driveway, too proud to go to his mother's, too ashamed to go to Keisha's. Good. Let him sit out there all night. Let him think about what he did. Let him feel a fraction of the misery he put me through. The next morning, I woke up early, made myself coffee, looked out the window. His car was still there. He was asleep in the driver's seat, suit wrinkled, face pressed against the window. My husband. The man who thought he was smarter than everyone, sleeping in his car like a homeless person because he had nowhere else to go. I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction exactly. Not joy. Sadness. Sadness for what we could have been, what we should have been. If he had just been honest, if he had just been faithful, if he had just appreciated what he had instead of always wanting more, we could have had a good life together. A real life. Built on trust and respect and partnership, but he threw that away. For Keisha, for Brittany, for Shayla, for whoever else caught his eye. He traded our future for temporary thrills, and now he was paying the price. I shook off the sadness. No time for that. I had work to do. I called the police non-emergency line, requested an officer to supervise the removal of personal belongings from a marital residence. Standard procedure in contested divorces. 2 hours later, a squad car pulled up. A female officer got out. Professional, sympathetic, Mrs. Chambers. I am Officer Davis. I am here to supervise. Thank you, officer. My husband is in the car. He has been there all night. She nodded. I will talk to him. You just let me know what he can and cannot take. I had already made a list. His clothes, his personal electronics, his golf clubs. Things that were clearly his. Everything else mine. The furniture I picked out, the appliances I bought, the art on the walls, the dishes in the cabinets. All mine. Darnell came inside with Officer Davis. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, suit a wrinkled mess. He did not look at me. Could not look at me. He went upstairs, started packing his clothes into garbage bags, did not have suitcases because I had bought the suitcases. I sat in the living room, watching, making sure he did not take anything he was not supposed to. At one point, he reached for a framed photo on the dresser. Our wedding photo. Leave it, I said. He looked up, pain in his eyes. This is our wedding photo, Vicky. It is in a frame I bought. The photo is yours. The frame stays. He stared at me, like he was seeing me for the first time. Who are you? His voice cracked. You are not the woman I married. No, I agreed. I am not. The woman you married trusted you, believed in you, loved you completely. You killed that woman. You killed her when you brought other women into our marriage, when you stole from our future, when you lied to my face every single day. I stood up, walked closer to him. This woman, the one standing in front of you now, this woman is what you created. A woman who trusts no one, who believes nothing, who loves only herself because that is the only person she can count on. He started crying, actual tears rolling down his face. I am sorry, Vicky. I am so sorry. I know you are, I said. You are sorry you got caught. You are sorry your plan fell apart. You are sorry you underestimated me. But you are not sorry for what you did. You are just sorry it did not work out the way you wanted. He did not deny it, could not deny it. We both knew the truth. 4 hours later, he was done. All his belongings loaded into his car, garbage bags full of designer suits and expensive shoes. He stood in the doorway, looking back at the house one last time. Goodbye, Darnell, I said. He did not respond. Just walked to his car, got in, drove away. I closed the door, locked it, set the alarm. Then I walked through the house, every room, every corner, reclaiming my space. This was my home now, not our home, my home. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Day 2 after the divorce filing. Time to increase the pressure. I walked into the Atlanta Police Department at 9 o'clock in the morning, dressed professionally, calm, composed, carrying a folder full of evidence. The detective I met with was a middle-aged man named Richardson, tired eyes but sharp. He had seen everything in his 20 years on the force. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until I opened my folder. I explained the situation. My husband had opened credit cards in my name, used my social security number without my consent, run up $38,000 in charges for his affairs. Detective Richardson looked through the documents, the credit card applications, the statements, the signature comparisons. This is your husband's handwriting on these applications. Yes. And this is your social security number. Yes. And you did not authorize these accounts. No, I did not know they existed until I pulled my credit report. He leaned back in his chair, studied me for a moment. Mrs. Chambers' identity theft between spouses is more common than people think. Usually we see it in divorces, one spouse trying to hide assets or damage the other's credit. This is not about the divorce, I said. This is about the crime. My husband committed fraud. He should face consequences. Detective Richardson nodded slowly. You have documentation that he signed these applications. I handed him the notarized confession. The one Darnell signed, thinking it was mortgage paperwork. He read it again. His eyebrows went up. He signed this, acknowledging he opened these accounts without your consent. Yes. Under oath. Notarized. The detective let out a low whistle. "Mrs. Chambers, your husband is going to be arrested. I know. And you are okay with that? Sending the father of—" He checked his notes. "You have children? No children. Just the two of us." He nodded. "Well, that makes things simpler." He stood up, started the process. Within 3 hours, an arrest warrant was issued for Darnell Anthony Chambers. Identity theft, credit card fraud, grand larceny, 3 felony counts. I found out later how it happened. They picked him up at 2 o'clock that afternoon. He was at Keisha's apartment, the secret apartment he had been paying for with money stolen from me. 2 uniformed officers knocked on the door. Keisha answered. 8 days postpartum, holding their newborn son. "Is Darnell Chambers here?" Darnell came to the door, still looking rough from the night before. "Darnell Chambers, you are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." They cuffed him right there, in front of Keisha, in front of the baby, in front of the neighbors who had come out to see what was happening. The love nest he had built on my stolen money. The new life he had created with my credit. All of it crashing down around him. They took him to the Fulton County Jail, booked him, photographed him, put him in a cell. Bail was set at $15,000. Darnell did not have $15,000. All the joint accounts were frozen. His secret account was frozen too once Gerald got a court order. The only money he had access to was whatever cash was in his wallet. He called his mother. Geneva scraped together the money by the next morning, probably borrowed it, probably used her retirement savings. Her precious son in jail, she would do anything to get him out. He spent 2 nights in lockup before she could bail him out. 2 nights. Sleeping on a concrete bed, eating jail food, surrounded by actual criminals. My husband, the charming sales manager, the church deacon, the man everyone thought was so wonderful, in jail with a mugshot with felony charges pending. While he was sitting in that cell, I sent the package to Keisha. FedEx overnight, delivered to the apartment he was paying for with my money. Inside was everything. Every piece of evidence I had gathered about his other women. Photos of Darnell with Brittany, at the airport, at hotels, kissing, holding hands. Photos of Darnell with Shayla, my cousin, at restaurants, at that hotel in Buckhead. Copies of text messages. Love notes to all of them, the same lines, the same promises. A timeline showing how long each affair had been going on, showing that Keisha was not the first, was not even the second, and a letter from me. Keisha. We spoke briefly at the grocery store. I told you then that you deserved to know the truth. This is the truth. Everything in this package is documented fact. Photographs, text messages, financial records. The man who told you he loved you told the same thing to at least 4 other women. The man who promised you a future was making the same promises to others. I am not sending this to hurt you. I am sending this so you can make informed decisions about your life and your child's life. Darnell is currently in jail, arrested for identity theft and fraud against me. This is who he really is. Not the charming man who swept you off your feet. A liar, a thief, a user. What you do with this information is up to you. But I thought you deserved to see it. Victoria Chambers. I sent a similar package to Brittany, to Shayla, to the other women I had identified. Let them all see who Darnell really was. Let them all understand what they had been part of. For Shayla, I added something extra. A note telling her that our grandmother would be informed, that the whole family would know what she did. You betrayed your own blood, I wrote. You slept with your cousin's husband for 3 years and smiled in my face at family gatherings. There is a special place in hell for people like you, and until you get there, you can enjoy the special place in this family nowhere. You are dead to us. Patricia helped me spread the word, quietly, strategically. By the end of the week, everyone knew. The church knew. Pastor Williams called me concerned. I told him exactly what Darnell had done. Every detail. Let him figure out what to do with a deacon who was also a felon. The family knew. My mother made calls. Darnell's betrayal with Shayla was the main story. Nobody could believe it. A man sleeping with his wife's cousin. It was like something out of a trashy television show. His coworkers knew. Once the arrest became public record, word spread through his office. The charming sales manager everyone liked arrested for stealing from his wife. Perp walked out of his pregnant girlfriend's apartment. Darnell got out of jail on day 3, but the damage was done. He called me from his mother's house. I did not answer. He texted me. Dozens of texts. Angry, pleading, threatening. You ruined my life. I will never forgive you for this. Why are you doing this to me? I just want to talk. Please. I did not respond to any of them. Then he made a mistake. A big mistake. He showed up at my job. I was in a meeting. My assistant came in looking nervous. Mrs. Chambers, there is a man in the lobby. He says he is your husband. He is being very loud. I excused myself from the meeting, walked to the lobby. Darnell was there, wild-eyed, unshaven, still wearing the same clothes from his arrest. Vicky. He saw me and started moving toward me. We need to talk. You cannot just ignore me. Security was already approaching. 2 big guys in suits. Mr. Chambers, you need to leave. This is private property. I am not leaving until my wife talks to me. I stepped forward. Calm, cold. Darnell, I have a restraining order against you. You are supposed to stay 500 feet away from me. By being here, you are violating that order. His face twisted. Restraining order. You got a restraining order against your own husband, against my abuser. Yes. Abuser, I never hit you. Financial abuse is still abuse, Darnell. Stealing from your spouse is abuse. Destroying their credit is abuse. Lying to them every day for 3 years is abuse. He lunged at me, or tried to. The security guards grabbed him, held him back. You are crazy. He was screaming now. You are a psycho. I never should have married you. I looked at him. This man I had loved. This man I had trusted. This man who had destroyed everything. For the first time, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction. Just emptiness. Call the police, I said to security. He is in violation of a restraining order. They called. The police came. Darnell was arrested again, this time for violating a protective order, a separate charge. More jail time pending. His mother bailed him out again the next day. But now he had 2 arrests on his record. 2 mugshots, 2 sets of charges. And I was just getting started. Gerald called that afternoon. He took the bait, Gerald said. By violating the restraining order, he just proved he is a threat. I can use this to get a more permanent order of protection, and I can use his behavior to argue for a larger share of the assets in the divorce. Good. There is more. His public defender called me. They want to negotiate. I smiled. Of course they do. What are you willing to offer? Nothing. Not yet. Let him stew for a while. Let him understand exactly how much trouble he is in. Then we will talk. Gerald laughed. You are ruthless, Mrs. Chambers. I learned from the best, and I was not talking about him. I was talking about Darnell. He taught me how to be ruthless, how to be cold, how to think strategically and act without emotion. He just never imagined I would use those lessons against him. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for 4 months after the initial filing. 4 months of depositions and motions and negotiations that went nowhere. Darnell refused to settle, kept thinking he could win, kept thinking there was some angle, some argument, some way to come out ahead. His lawyer, a public defender who clearly wished he had a different case, tried to explain reality to him. I know because Gerald told me about their conversations. Mr. Chambers, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Your best option is to settle and minimize the damage. But she tricked me. That confession she got me to sign was fraud. She got you to sign a document you did not read. That is not fraud. That is foolishness. And a judge is not going to have sympathy for a man who signed away his defense because he was too lazy to read the paperwork. But he would not listen. Too arrogant. Too convinced of his own intelligence. So we went to trial. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling. Fluorescent lights. A judge's bench that looked like it had seen 1,000 broken marriages. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Gerald, calm, composed, ready. Darnell sat at the defendant's table with his public defender. He looked rough. Months of stress had aged him. The charm was gone. The confidence was gone. This was not the man I married. This was what was left after the mask came off. The judge was a black woman in her 60s, Judge Patricia Henderson. known for being fair but tough, no tolerance for games or lies. She reviewed the case file before proceedings began, over 100 pages of evidence, financial records, photographs, testimony. When she looked up, her expression was unreadable. We are here today to finalize the dissolution of marriage between Victoria Chambers and Darnell Chambers. I have reviewed the extensive documentation provided by both parties. Mr. Whitmore, please proceed with your case. Gerald stood, buttoned his jacket, walked to the center of the room like he owned it. Your Honor, this case is unfortunately simple despite its complexity. Over the course of a 6-year marriage, Mr. Chambers systematically defrauded his wife. He stole from their joint accounts. He opened credit cards in her name without her knowledge or consent. He maintained multiple extramarital affairs using marital funds. And he hid assets in secret accounts to prepare for abandoning the marriage. He paused. Let the words sink in. Mrs. Chambers is a forensic accountant. She discovered her husband's betrayal approximately 1 year ago. Rather than confront him immediately, she did what she does professionally. She investigated. She documented. She built a case. Gerald walked to his table, picked up a stack of folders. I would like to enter into evidence the following documents. Exhibit A. Bank statements from the joint savings account showing withdrawals totaling $45,000 over 3 years. All withdrawals made by Mr. Chambers, all without Mrs. Chambers' knowledge. Exhibit B. Credit card applications for 3 accounts opened in Mrs. Chambers' name using her Social Security number. Mr. Chambers' handwriting confirmed by a forensic document examiner. Total fraudulent debt, $38,000. Exhibit C. Bank statements from a hidden account in Mr. Chambers' name only. Total balance, $67,000. Funds derived from his salary that should have been deposited into joint accounts. Exhibit D. A notarized confession signed by Mr. Chambers acknowledging that he opened credit accounts without his wife's consent and that he alone is responsible for the charges. Darnell jumped up. That confession was obtained through fraud. She told me it was mortgage paperwork. Judge Henderson banged her gavel. Mr. Chambers, you will remain seated and silent unless addressed. Another outburst and I will hold you in contempt. He sat down, but his face was red with rage. Gerald continued. Exhibit E. A private investigator's report documenting Mr. Chambers' extramarital affairs. Photographs of him with multiple women. At hotels. At restaurants. At an apartment he rented for his pregnant mistress using funds from the marital accounts. Exhibit F. Phone records showing extensive communication with multiple women throughout the marriage. Exhibit G. Mr. Chambers' subsequent arrests. 1 for identity theft and fraud. 1 for violating a restraining order when he showed up at Mrs. Chambers' workplace. Gerald set down the folders. Your Honor, the facts are clear. Mr. Chambers contributed minimally to this marriage financially. Mrs. Chambers paid the mortgage. She paid the utilities. She paid for both vehicles. She funded the household while her husband funded his extramarital activities. He turned and looked at Darnell. Mr. Chambers now seeks an equitable distribution of marital assets. But equity must consider what each party contributed, it must consider what each party took, and it must consider the egregious misconduct that led us here today. Gerald sat down. Judge Henderson turned to Darnell's lawyer. Your response, counselor. The public defender stood. He looked like a man who knew he was fighting a losing battle. Your Honor, while we do not dispute that Mr. Chambers made mistakes during this marriage, we believe that Mrs. Chambers has exaggerated the situation. The so-called confession was obtained through deception. The financial accounting fails to consider Mr. Chambers' non-monetary contributions to the household. Judge Henderson raised an eyebrow. Non-monetary contributions. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chambers supported his wife's career, maintained the home, provided emotional support. Gerald stood. Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Chambers was employed full-time throughout the marriage. If he was maintaining the home and providing support, when exactly was he doing that? Between affairs, Judge Henderson almost smiled. Sustained. Counselor, do you have any actual evidence to counter the financial claims? The public defender shuffled his papers. We would like to call Mr. Chambers to testify on his own behalf. Darnell walked to the witness stand, took the oath, sat down. His lawyer led him through basic questions. How long were you married? What was your job? Standard stuff. Then Gerald got his turn. He stood slowly, took his time walking toward the witness box, like a predator approaching prey. Mr. Chambers, you heard the evidence presented. $45,000 withdrawn from savings, $38,000 in fraudulent credit cards, $67,000 in a hidden account. Do you dispute these numbers? Darnell shifted in his seat. The money from savings was for legitimate expenses. What legitimate expenses? Business investments, opportunities that came up. What business investments specifically? Darnell hesitated. Various things. I do not remember all the details. You do not remember spending $45,000. It was over several years. Things add up. Gerald nodded. Let me help your memory. He pulled out a document. This is a receipt from Tiffany & Company, dated March of last year. A diamond necklace, $4,200, purchased with funds from your joint savings account. Did you give this necklace to your wife? No, Darnell admitted quietly. Did you give it to Keisha Monroe? Your girlfriend, the mother of your child. Objection, Darnell's lawyer called out. Relevance, Your Honor. Gerald responded, the relevance is dissipation of marital assets. He spent marital funds on gifts for women who were not his wife. That is directly relevant to how assets should be divided. Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Chambers. Darnell looked at the floor. Yes, I gave it to Keisha. Gerald produced more receipts, more documents, more proof. Trip to Cancun, $3,000. Did your wife go on this trip? No. Who did go with you, Keisha? Apartment rental in Midtown, $1,400 per month for 2 years. Did your wife know about this apartment, Noam? Who lived in this apartment, Keisha? Gerald went on for almost an hour, receipt after receipt, charge after charge, building an undeniable picture of where the money had gone. By the end, Darnell was slumped in the witness chair, defeated, exposed. One final question, Mr. Chambers. Gerald's voice was almost gentle now. Did you love your wife? Darnell looked up, looked at me for the first time since the hearing began. Yes, he said. His voice cracked. I did love her. Then why did you do this to her? He did not answer, could not answer, because there was no answer, no explanation that made sense, no justification that held up. He did it because he wanted to, because he thought he could get away with it, because he did not respect me enough to be honest. That was the truth. And everyone in that courtroom knew it. No further questions. Judge Henderson called a 30-minute recess. When we came back, she was ready with her ruling. I have presided over many divorce cases in my 30 years on the bench. Cases involving infidelity, cases involving financial misconduct, cases where one spouse betrayed the other in fundamental ways. She looked at Darnell. But I have rarely seen a case this egregious. Mr. Chambers, you did not just cheat on your wife. You systematically defrauded her. You stole her identity. You destroyed her credit. You depleted marital assets to fund your affairs. And when confronted with the consequences, you violated a restraining order and had to be arrested at her workplace. She shook her head. This is not a case of a marriage that simply did not work out. This is a case of one spouse treating the other as nothing more than a source of funds to be exploited. She picked up her notes. My ruling is as follows. The marital home is awarded solely to Mrs. Chambers. She paid the down payment from her inheritance. She made all mortgage payments. Mr. Chambers contributed nothing to this asset and, in fact, depleted marital funds that could have gone toward it. Darnell's lawyer started to object. Judge Henderson silenced him with a look. Both vehicles are awarded to the party whose name they are in. The Honda to Mrs. Chambers, the Lexus to Mr. Chambers, along with the remaining loan balance. The hidden account containing $67,000 is marital property. Given the circumstances, I am awarding 75% to Mrs. Chambers and 25% to Mr. Chambers. Mr. Chambers is ordered to pay restitution to Mrs. Chambers in the amount of $83,000. This represents the stolen savings and the fraudulent credit card debt. Mr. Chambers is further ordered to pay Mrs. Chambers' attorney fees in the amount of $42,000. His misconduct made this litigation necessary. He should bear the cost. She looked at me. Mrs. Chambers, I am also granting your request for a permanent restraining order. Mr. Chambers is to have no contact with you, direct or indirect. He is to remain at least 500 feet from your home, your workplace, and any location where you are present. She turned back to Darnell. As for your criminal charges, Mr. Chambers, those are not my jurisdiction, but I will note for the record that your conduct in this case demonstrates a pattern of dishonesty and disregard for the law. I hope the criminal court takes that into consideration. She banged her gavel. This marriage is dissolved. This court is adjourned. I sat there for a moment, taking it in. I had won. Completely. Totally. The house was mine. The money was mine. The car was mine. Darnell owed me $125,000 in restitution and fees, and he was facing felony charges that could put him in prison. Gerald shook my hand. Congratulations, Mrs. Chambers. In 25 years, that is one of the most complete victories I have ever seen. I looked across the courtroom. Darnell was still sitting at the defendant's table, head in his hands. His lawyer was talking to him, but he was not listening. He had nothing now, less than nothing. He had debt and charges and a destroyed reputation, and I had everything I had worked for, everything I had built, everything he tried to steal. I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. Behind me, I could hear Darnell crying. I did not look back. The aftermath was swift and brutal, for Darnell anyway. His criminal case went to trial 2 months after our divorce was finalized. I did not have to testify. The evidence spoke for itself. The signed confession, the credit card applications, the bank records. His public defender negotiated a plea deal, plead guilty to reduced charges, identity theft and fraud. The judge sentenced him to 3 years probation, 200 hours of community service, full restitution to me for the credit card debt. He avoided prison. Barely. But he did not avoid consequences. His employer found out about the conviction. They had to. It became public record. A sales manager with a fraud conviction is a liability no pharmaceutical company wants. They fired him 2 weeks after the plea deal, escorted out of the building, box of personal items in his hands, the same walk of shame thousands of employees have done. Except his was worse. Everyone knew why. Everyone had heard the story. The charming sales manager who stole from his wife, who opened credit cards in her name, who got his girlfriend pregnant while planning to take everything. Nobody felt sorry for him. Nobody offered references. Nobody wanted to be associated with him. Last I heard, he was working at a cell phone store in a mall, selling phone cases and screen protectors, commission-based, barely making rent. The man who drove a Lexus and wore designer suits now took the bus to his minimum wage job. Karma. His mother, Geneva, took it hard. Not because she felt bad for me. She still blamed me for everything. But because her precious son's fall from grace reflected on her. The church removed him as a deacon. Obviously. You cannot have a convicted fraudster in church leadership. Geneva stopped going to services. Too embarrassed to face people who knew the truth about her son. Too proud to admit she had raised a man capable of what he did. She still lives in her house, still defends Darnell to anyone who will listen, still insists I trapped him somehow, set him up, ruined his life. I blocked her number years ago. Do not need that negativity in my life. Tasha. His sister had to face the music too. All that money she borrowed from me over the years, I took her to small claims court. $8,000 she owed me. The judge ordered her to pay, monthly installments, garnished from whatever job she managed to keep. She hates me now, posts about me on social media sometimes, vague references to fake family members and evil women. I do not care. I got my money back. That is what matters. Shayla, my cousin, the woman who slept with my husband for 3 years. The family found out, all of them. My mother made sure of it. My grandmother, before she passed last year, wrote Shayla out of her will, completely. Left her nothing, not a cent. Shayla was not invited to the funeral, was not welcome at family gatherings, was not part of us anymore. She tried to apologize once, showed up at my mother's house about a year after everything happened. I was there. Saw her coming up the walk. My mother answered the door. What do you want, Shayla? I just want to talk to Vicky. To apologize, to explain. My mother looked at her with eyes as cold as I have ever seen. You slept with her husband, your cousin's husband, for 3 years. You smiled in her face at Christmas and Easter and birthdays while you were betraying her. There is no apology for that. There is no explanation. There is only shame, and you should feel it every day for the rest of your life." Then she closed the door, left Shayla standing on the porch. I watched from the window, saw Shayla crying, saw her walk back to her car, drive away. I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. She was a stranger to me now, someone I used to know, someone who no longer existed in my world. And Keisha, the pregnant girlfriend, the mother of Darnell's child. She left him right after the divorce was finalized, right after she got my package with all the evidence of his other affairs. She could not forgive him, could not trust him, could not build a life with a man who had lied to everyone about everything. She moved back to her mother's house, had the baby, named him something that was not a junior, made sure everyone knew this child was hers, not his. Darnell has visitation rights every other weekend, but he can barely afford to take care of himself, let alone a child. Last I heard, he was behind on child support. Keisha was threatening to take him back to court. The love nest he built on my stolen money collapsed. The future he planned with his pregnant mistress evaporated. All those lies, all those schemes, all those women, and in the end, he had none of them. Brittany, the flight attendant. She blocked him everywhere after she got my package, changed her routes to avoid Atlanta, wanted nothing to do with the scandal. The other women I identified, same story. Nobody wants to be associated with a convicted fraudster. Nobody wants to be the side piece who helped destroy a marriage. They all disappeared, back to their lives, away from his mess. Darnell Chambers, the man who thought he could have it all, ended up with nothing, less than nothing. He owed me over $100,000, owed Keisha child support, owed his mother for the bail money she used, owed everyone. The man who tried to steal my life ended up drowning in debt he could never repay. That is what I call justice. But enough about him. Let me tell you what happened to me. The first few months after the divorce were hard. I will not pretend they were not. Even when you win, even when you get everything you deserve, there is still grief. Grief for the marriage you thought you had. Grief for the future you planned. Grief for the person you used to be before betrayal hardened you. I went to therapy. First time in my life. Sat on a couch and talked about everything. The lies, the discovery, the 11 months of pretending. My therapist helped me understand something important. What happened to me was not my fault. I did not cause Darnell's behavior. I could not have prevented it. He made choices, bad choices, and I was the victim of those choices. But I was also a survivor. I had taken control. I had fought back. I had won. Not everyone in my situation could do what I did. I had skills and resources that most people do not have. A career in forensic accounting, money to hire a good lawyer, a support system that believed me. I was lucky. In a horrible situation, I was lucky, and I was determined to make the most of my second chance. I threw myself into work, got a promotion about 6 months after the divorce, Senior Director of Forensic Investigations. More money, more responsibility, more respect. I used the settlement money to pay off the house completely. No more mortgage. The deed was in my name and only my name. Nobody could ever take it from me. I redecorated every room. New furniture, new colors, new everything. It was not our house anymore. It was my house. And it looked like it. I traveled. For the first time in years, I took actual vacations. Paris, by myself. A week of museums and cafes and walks along the Seine. Jamaica, with Patricia and some other friends. A girls' trip, laughing and drinking and dancing. Tokyo, always wanted to go. Finally did. I saw the world. Or started to. There was so much I had put off during my marriage. So much I had sacrificed. So much I had told myself I would do later. Later was now. I also started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. After what I had been through, trust did not come easy. Every man I met, I found myself looking for signs. looking for lies, looking for the mask behind the charm. It took almost 2 years before I met someone I could let my guard down with. His name is Marcus. Yes, I know. The irony of the name is not lost on me. He is a professor at Emory, history department, quiet, kind, the opposite of Darnell in every way. We met at a fundraiser for a literacy nonprofit, started talking about books, then about life, then about everything. I told him my story, all of it, on our third date. I figured why waste time if he could not handle my past better to know now. He listened, asked questions, did not judge, and at the end he said something I will never forget. You are not a victim, Victoria. You are a warrior, and any man who gets to be with you should know how lucky he is. We have been together for 3 years now, no plans to marry. Neither of us is in a rush. We are building something real, something honest, something based on trust instead of lies. I am happy, genuinely happy, for the first time in longer than I can remember. Not because of Marcus. He is wonderful, but he is not my happiness. I am my happiness. I learned that the hard way. Learned that you cannot depend on anyone else to make you whole. Learned that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. Darnell taught me that lesson. Not intentionally, but he taught it nonetheless. And I am grateful. In a strange way. I am grateful. Because without his betrayal, I would still be that naive wife, still believing the fairy tale, still giving everything to a man who gave nothing back. Now I know better. Now I know my worth. Now I know what I will and will not accept, and that knowledge, that self-respect, that is worth more than any marriage, any man, any fairy tale. So here I am, 5 years later, sitting on the porch of my house, the house I fought for, the house I kept. I have a glass of wine in my hand. The sun is setting over my garden, the garden I planted myself, tomatoes and peppers and herbs. Life is good, really good. My credit score is 820, higher than it was before Darnell destroyed it. I rebuilt it, piece by piece, payment by payment. My career is thriving. I am a partner at my firm now, the first Black woman to make partner in the company's 50-year history. They put my picture in the lobby. My relationships are healthy. Marcus, Patricia, my mother, my sister, people who love me for who I am, people who have my back. And Darnell. He is a distant memory, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. I do not hate him anymore. I do not feel anything about him anymore. He is just a stranger who used to live in my house. Forgiveness. I do not know if I have forgiven him, but I have let go. That is more important. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I read that somewhere. And it is true. I poured out that poison years ago. Whatever happens to Darnell now is not my concern. I have my own life to live. People ask me sometimes, was it worth it, the 11 months of pretending? The stress, the deception. Was it worth it? My answer is always the same. Absolutely. If I had confronted Darnell that first night when I saw the text from Keisha, everything would have been different. Worse. He would have lied his way out of it, made me feel crazy, hidden the evidence, prepared for battle. By the time we got to court, it would have been his word against mine. And charming men like Darnell know how to work a courtroom, know how to make themselves look like victims. I would have gotten half. Maybe. After years of fighting. Instead, I got everything. Because I was patient, because I was strategic, because I used my skills and my resources to build an airtight case. The quiet ones are the most dangerous. That is what I learned about myself. I spent years being quiet, being accommodating, being the good wife who did not make waves. But when it mattered, that quietness became my weapon. Darnell had no idea what I was planning because I gave him no reason to suspect. He was so busy underestimating me that he walked right into my trap. Let that be a lesson. Never underestimate a quiet woman. Never assume that silence means ignorance. Never think that because someone is not fighting, they are not preparing to destroy you. I have a message for everyone listening to this story. If you are in a situation like mine, if you suspect your partner is betraying you, If something feels wrong but you cannot prove it, trust your instincts. Your gut is smarter than you think. But also, be strategic. Do not confront until you are ready. Do not show your hand until you can win. Document everything. Keep records. Build your evidence. Protect yourself financially. Separate what you can. Know what is in your name and what is not. Find your people, your sister circle, the friends who will support you without judgment, the family who will stand with you no matter what. And most importantly, know your worth. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. You deserve a partner who values you as much as you value them. If you are not getting that, you have the right to leave. You have the right to fight. You have the right to take back what is yours. I am not saying it is easy. It is the hardest thing I have ever done. But I am saying it is possible. I am living proof. A woman can survive betrayal, can survive fraud, can survive having her trust destroyed by the person she loved most, and she can come out the other side stronger, wiser, happier. I did. You can too. 5 years ago, I pretended not to know my husband's betrayal. I smiled in his face, cooked his meals, slept in his bed, all while building the case that would destroy him. It took 11 months of patience, 11 months of discipline, 11 months of playing the role of naive wife while being anything but. And in the end, I took everything. The house, the money, the dignity, the victory. He lost his job, his women, his reputation, his freedom almost. He went from a man who had it all to a man who had nothing. And I went from a woman who was being robbed to a woman who owned her life completely. $427,000. That is what Darnell cost himself by underestimating me, by thinking I was stupid, by believing he could steal from a forensic accountant and get away with it. $427,000 in house equity savings restitution and lost income, all because he thought he was smarter than his wife. He was wrong. My name is Victoria Chambers, Vicky to my friends, Director of Forensic Investigations, homeowner, survivor, warrior. And if you have made it this far in my story, I want you to know something. Whatever you are going through, whatever betrayal you are facing, whatever lies you are trying to untangle, you are stronger than you think. You are smarter than they believe. You are capable of more than they imagine. Do not let anyone steal your future. Do not let anyone make you feel small. Do not let anyone tell you that you have to accept less than you deserve. You are worthy of love, real love, honest love, love that builds you up instead of tearing you down. And if you are not getting that love, you have the power to walk away, to fight back, to reclaim your life. I did it. You can do it too. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying with me through all of it. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it gave you hope, I need you to do something for me. Share it. Share it with every woman who needs to hear it. Share it with every person who is in a situation like mine and does not know there is a way out. Because silence is how abusers win. Silence is how cheaters prosper. Silence is how bad men keep getting away with bad things. But when we share our stories, when we support each other, when we refuse to be quiet, we take back the power. We become dangerous. We become free. I pretended not to know his betrayal until he lost everything, and I gained everything that mattered. This is Victoria Chambers, and I won.